starting. Welcome to this webinar where we're going to speak about masculinity and femininity, and today we're going to speak about healthy and unhealthy masculine and feminine, because we have all these versions, right? My name is Maria Appelqvist.
And my name is Frank Labuda.
And we're doing these webinar series because we learned that both men and women do have problem with understanding their own sex and the importance of tapping into your own sex and embracing that as an energy.
And on the other hand, we have mostly a problem with the other sex. So in communication.
So that's what happens, that we have problem with communications.
Yeah, exactly.
So there is something here about, and this is part of what I'm teaching. In order to understand others, you first have to create a relationship with yourself. And for me, the most intimate relationship you can create with yourself is with your own sex. So there is something here to learn, and that's what we are embracing, having conversations about, unfolding, and it all comes from the questions you have around this. Okay, so let's start. So the question came, sometimes we speak about the feminine in terms of a queen or a princess. We have this archetype of something that is feminine in essence, and the equivalent of the masculine would be a king or a prince. Okay, so have you heard about these concepts before, Frank? I know there's
you hear plenty of them in the what's it called in English? In the fairy tales.
In the fairy tales, yes.
Yeah.
So they are archetypes.
They're archetypes, exactly.
We have them in fairy tales, and somehow they create the fairy tales. It started when you were a child. It created some kind of story about that beautiful princess or beautiful prince, and how in some way when the princess get her prince or equivalent, then they live happily all days after that.
Well, I think there's a much more deeper signification in the fairy tales, but the problem is we don't have the symbols anymore. For example, when the bear comes in that, I don't know what is it called in English, that fairy tale, where there are two sisters, two sisters, one is red and one is white, and the bear comes in and want to warm him up because, and later the bear is a prince. So
I never heard that fairy tale.
Symbolic of that bear. There's a symbolic of a dragon, for example, because the dragon is always a guardian of the next level. So therefore, I using, for example, the dragon as a symbol for the. I spoke too much Spanish last hour. For transformation, because no one will get access to the princess, for example, if you still hear me?
Yes.
There's something wrong on my device, but I let it like that. for example, the princess is the prize, or is the gift what is behind the dragon, and the dragon is guardian of the princess, or another thing which is there, and the prince has to overcome his fears to fight with the dragon. And this fight with the dragon is his own fears inside. So the dragon always is a symbol for a guardian, or for the reach of a higher level. And in these forms, we have to see the fairy tales. They are not really made for the little childs, but we could say for the adolescents, or for the growing up people, to keep them in the mystic.
So fairy tales, they are actually interesting to read them as adult again, to see the symbolic in them. But there is this notion about masculine and feminine. They come together, and when they come together, like there's struggle, fights, or he has to fight, or there is this struggle, or fight a dragon, or whatever it is, in order to enter her space, and then they connect, and then the story is ended. So there is something in how the fairy tales are used into teaching us about the romantic idea of love. So it's like when they come together and there is love, the story is over. It's like we have no continuation any longer. Yeah. And the assumption is they now live happily forever. And we know from real life that this is when the real struggle starts in some way. And we don't have a notion or understanding about how to handle it, because nobody is teaching us about it. So there is this, how we are socialized from our childhood into understanding that the happiness comes with finding someone from the other sex, because we're living in a heterosexual world of construction. So then when that love happens, we are just happy.
I think there's one thing we don't have to under what is it called? Underestimate, and that is only the major prince will get the princess. Only if he really has made the exam in entre comillas.
Yeah, no? He has to do a lot of tests in order to prove that he is worthy, right? And or mature. So he has to fight the dragon, or like there's really a fight. He has to deserve her.
Exactly. And now in nowadays we don't do that anymore. We have the fight with the girl itself for the power, for the right. But if me, like a man, if I'm powerful, the woman can be in her role. She don't has to take the masculine role. If everyone is in his own role, I think so. That's one thing I take out of the fairy tales. So it will be love forever. Because
so
you accept. You accept me in my point, and I accept you in your point. Yeah, that's the thing.
But so what's the modern, like, what's the real? So the question is, what is the real life equivalent to fighting the dragon, or making this like? So he's making these approaches in order to reach her heart. Like, how do the masculine in the real world? Like, what's his fight there, or is it the same kind of struggle, or?
I think there's a fight with his own fears to really meet the feminine. This is in the tarot card, for example, the moon. where the Scarabaeus, which is the beetle, the Scarabaeus beetle, brings the light into the dark. The feminine is like a dark space which is unknown, which is unsecure, which for a man, which is not understandable.
The scary territory.
Yeah. To enter really in that feminine part, also with the sexual copulation, for example, is scaring for plenty of men, and they reduce it to only a sexual act and not to a sexual communication. I think you know that very, very well, Maria. You're working with that sexual thing, and so it's a reduced communication. It's a reduced meeting. You're not really meeting in the whole myself, because I don't. First of all, I don't accept myself. If I don't love myself, how Osho said, how could anyone take the risk to love you if you don't love yourself?
This is really fascinating topic that it was just by coincidence we came to the fairy tales, and now like this it becomes like it goes deeper and deeper, right?
It goes
deeper. So I'm
deeper.
thinking that the feminine equivalent here, like, so because the princess, she just have to sit there and wait and surrender, like, because they are like knocking on her door, and then she just give directions like, go and do this for me. Didn't work. I didn't like it. So there is like, she's sitting there and giving directives of what she wants, and the prince or the man, they are just going and trying to fulfill her desires.
Yeah, but it's clear. It's very clear. It's the active and the passive part.
It is.
The masculine is the active part, the building part. Because he don't have the ability to create a child in his body. So the feminine must be the English word is missing.
Surrendering? Receptive.
Yeah.
Receptive, surrender.
The masculine has to make a beautiful house,
he's the provider.
Yeah.
So the masculine is the provider, so he's providing everything. So it's in the old tribe society. The man was a hunter. He went out for food. He came back. He was providing shelter, and
exactly.
And there is even, I just recently read an article about, that's why if you want to be in your feminine, like being in the feminine is really important to you, that can just happen when a man is helping you to embrace that.
Exactly.
Because you can't be in your feminine if a man also is feminine or is strong in his masculine, because then we're doing the same thing. So there wouldn't be this clear
and especially the otherwise round.
Yeah.
Because plenty of women today are very masculine. They have to be in the business and all those things, and the men don't have space anymore there.
So they don't feel they can provide. They don't feel they are the provider, or that.
Well, I literally had in a family constellations that I had three generations of women, and the man standing beside, and they really said, there's no space for us. Because a woman can stand on her masculine part and her masculine place also, which is rather difficult for a man because he's not so, he can't make multitasking, he can't get children and plenty of those things. So it's more difficult to be in the complete feminine, let's say complete feminine part, no? But it's more easy for a woman to take that focused thinking and learn that. We can't learn that. If you can't multitask, you can't multitask. It's a fact. It's not learnable. It's not a learnable skill.
So, which means since women are good at it, they are just doing it. And that's basically what happens in relationships, is that woman becomes the project leader who handles everything, the family, children, and she gives directives. And so she's out working the days she come home, she continue manage the family. And in the final end, it's just he losing his masculinity. It's not articulated because it's unconscious, but it happens. And she is just yearning for being held. But since she is just like running and focused on all these tasks that needs to happen, she can't relax and let go and surrender to her own man. And the more you're running in that pattern, you get stuck in it.
And especially overwhelmed.
And overwhelmed, exactly. And so there is something important here about seeing that and appreciate the differences of the feminine and masculine, and see how you can play with that in your relationship if you want to have a hot relationship. But I
think we have to get with that in the first part what you said. I have to love myself. I have to accept myself, and then I have to look what is my role as a man, for example, or for you as a woman, and what do I really want in that role? Because most people know what they don't want, but they don't know what they want.
Well, I think actually for most people in general, it's easier to say what they don't want than what they really want.
Yeah.
So,
but they don't know it.
No, and I think and I think that's again, like, if you don't know yourself, if you're not connected to your desires, then how can you? And as a woman, if you're not connected to your own desires, how can you even direct a man to provide for you and feel that he provides for you, because you don't even know yourself what you want? So if you are confused, you're creating that confusion also for your man.
And that prepares a field for the expectation.
Yeah.
You're expecting in that, and we are on the conversation again. You're not telling your man or your woman. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not plural. What you want.
But here is something we need to speak about, and that is the I mean, you know, the brat princess, the princess with she's not major. So there is this, or even the masculine who is not major. So there is something about what it means to be major in your masculinity and femininity, because a lot of men are trying to be like macho masculine in a way, but it's not connected. It's not that masculinity we're talking about. So we need to speak something about that. Like, how can I understand that immature?
If we go back to the fairy tales, I hope my battery keeps good. If we go back to the fairy tales, it's the princess without dragon. So the prince has to fight directly with the princess. Symbolically talked, and she attracts then also the princess, the a prince which is not major.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I don't remember this fairy tale, but I have this story of a princess who she has this prince that comes for her, and she's really a brat princess and immature, and she's sending him over and over again, and she never gets happy. And every time he go and fight a dragon, and he comes more and more hurt and wounded, but she's not happy. So he has to go back out there again. And then finally, one day when he comes back, he actually saying, "This was the last thing I was doing for you," and then he's leaving. And then she realized how brat she had been, and she feels sorry and regret, and she realized she loves him, but he has already left. So she becomes conscious about her own immaturity.
There's a very nice fairy tale about that. Because
I think we have to read fairy tales because there is something interesting.
Yeah, it's the fairy tale of the king. In German, it's named King Bluebeard or something.
Yeah, it's something. Yeah. He has a blue beard. That's the story.
And he comes and takes wants the hand of the princess, and she orders things and orders things, and so the father of her says, "Okay, stop that. The next who comes, you have to go with them."
Yeah, exactly.
And Bluebird takes a cloth of a pastor, of a pig pastor, and goes in and asks for the hand, and so the king says, "So you have to go with him now." And at least she has to look after the pigs, after the swines, and after 1 week. He comes back and puts on his clothes. Like I wanted to.
He wanted to
give you a lesson or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And of course, she was sad that she didn't took him, but at least it was him.
Yeah. So there is this. So this is what happens with the immature feminine and masculine, is that they can't really be happy, so they have to grow up in order to create that inner satisfaction. Okay, I think
I joined in with the other device also.
Is it your second device?
Yeah, I have to put that away.
No. So it's time to finish the recording. So I'm going to finish the recording here.
Okay, are we finished now?